The Aiken County Sheriff has released arrest warrants against the parents charged in death of their daughter, Javeayah Harris.
They confessed to the little girl's death. And tonight we also have a 911 call that investigators say the mother made to dispatchers the night she says her daughter was missing. Now, we do want to warn you, some of the details from this arrest warrant are deeply disturbing.
The voice call recording you're about to hear is one of the most disturbing you'll hear in true crime this month, because it doesn't sound like a lie.
Ma'am, I don't have one. My phone is not on, but I can still call 911.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I'm on the way to you. Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And she asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark, and I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her.
Okay, is there a certain place she likes to play outside?
Usually in the chicken coop, and that's usually where I find her every day, and I just looked in here, and she's not in here.
Now, I want you to really listen to this call, not just hear it. Listen to it, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why almost everything this mum said was already not true. Last week, a mum in Aiken, South Carolina, picked up the phone and called 911. Her name is Michelle Herring. Her daughter's name is Javeayah. Javeayah is 4 years old. Here's what Herring told the dispatcher. She'd been outside playing. Herring went inside to cook dinner. When she came back out just 20 or 30 minutes later, Javeayah was gone. She gave small details, one after another. Pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, pink beads in her braided hair. She said Javeayah liked to play by the chicken coop, and that's usually where she'd find her. She said it was almost dark, which is why she'd gone out to call her in. She even said she was 39 weeks pregnant and couldn't chase after a fast 4-year-old the way she used to. When the dispatcher asked if Javeayah had any health issues, Herring said she thought her daughter might be on the autism spectrum, though she'd never gotten a full diagnosis. Then she added, almost like she wanted to make sure it was known, that Javeayah was smart, that she could carry a full conversation. If you just heard this call cold, with no other information, you would believe her. That's the hardest part of this whole story. It sounds like a real mum, panicking about a real missing child, giving real details. That's exactly why it worked, at least for a little while. But here's what we now know, according to arrest warrants. Investigators say Javeayah had already been dead for about a month by the time this call was made. Say that back to yourself slowly. A month. Okay, before we go further, I want to know something. Type in the comments right now. What city or state are you watching this from? I read every single comment, and I love seeing how far this reaches. Also, if you're someone who needs answers once a story grabs you, hit that like button right now, because you'll soon realize where this stops looking like a simple missing child case. And if you've got a friend who's been following this with you, send them this video. They're going to want to hear what I'll say in the next few minutes. For almost a week, this looked like any other missing child case, the kind that breaks your heart, but still has hope stitched into it. Police searched the streets near the family's home, around Hillsborough Street and Ridgecrest Road. Deputies went door to door. They stopped cars. They walked through nearby woods. Volunteers joined in. A digital billboard at a gas station on Ascauga Lake Road put up Javeayah's photo, asking drivers if they'd seen her. Javeayah's father, Javeayah Harris, spoke to a local news station before his arrest. He said his daughter was friendly, almost too friendly. He said she didn't really understand stranger danger because she said yes ma'am and no sir to everyone she met. He said she was respectful, smart, and that he and Herring had no idea what could have happened to her. At the time, people believed him. It made sense. A trusting 4-year-old. A moment when nobody was watching closely enough. A stranger who saw an opening. It's every parent's worst fear, and it does happen in towns just like this one. But then something strange came up. Some neighbors told reporters they hadn't actually seen Javeayah in weeks. Some said months. Not a wave from a yard, not a glimpse through a window, nothing at all. Sit with that for a second. If a 4-year-old truly vanished from her own yard just days ago, someone nearby should have seen her recently, playing, walking with a parent, anything. Instead, neighbor after neighbor described a child who felt almost invisible, long before anyone called her missing. That single contradiction, a recent disappearance that didn't match weeks of nobody seeing her, is what investigators say helped crack this case wide open. The following Saturday, Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer called a press conference. He has worked in law enforcement for 36 years. He said this was the hardest announcement of his entire career. He told the community that the evidence now led investigators to believe Javeayah was dead. Not missing, dead. Then came the second part of the announcement, the part that changed everything. Both of her parents were under arrest. Javeayah Harris, 23 years old, was charged with homicide by child abuse. Michelle Herring, 22 years old, was charged with the same crime, plus a second charge, filing a false police report. In South Carolina, homicide by child abuse can carry a sentence of 20 years to life in prison. The false report charge can add up to 5 more years or a $5,000 fine. Here's what we still didn't know at this point: how Javeayah died, why. The sheriff didn't say, and her body still hadn't been found. Investigators said they were now searching an area outside Aiken County entirely, though they wouldn't say exactly where yet. Both parents were denied bond. Because this is a homicide charge, a local magistrate judge doesn't even have the legal power to set bail. That decision has to move up to a bigger court, circuit court, which meant both parents would stay locked up while the case kept building. During Herring's bond hearing, a few small details about their everyday life came out. She told the judge she worked at a company called Transcom, earning about $1,300 every 2 weeks. She said Harris worked for DHL. The judge decided her income was too high for her to qualify for a court-appointed lawyer. Small details like that matter more than they seem to. They sketch out a regular household, 2 people with jobs, a paycheck, a routine, the kind of life where a missing 4-year-old would eventually need an explanation, whether it was a co-worker asking, a relative visiting, or a doctor's appointment coming up. What actually happened inside that house stayed sealed inside a warrant nobody outside the investigation had read yet. That was about to change. If you're still here with me, do 2 quick things. First, comment 1 single word that describes how you're feeling right now. I want to see how many of us feel the exact same way. Second, hit share and send this to 1 person, because what's in the next few minutes is the part that made this whole case click into place for me. A few days later, new arrest warrants were made public. According to those documents, both parents confessed. The warrants say Javeayah was hurt through physical abuse by her mother. This happened, according to the warrants, around June 5th, roughly a month before that 911 call was ever made. Here's the line that matters the most. Neither parent got her medical help after she was hurt. The warrants use a specific phrase to describe this: extreme indifference to human life. Read that again. This isn't described as one sudden, terrible moment that ended everything right away. This is described as an injury that never got treated. A little girl who needed a doctor, and instead, according to investigators, got silence for weeks. Herring is charged separately for that same 911 call, for filing a false police report, because, according to investigators, she reported her daughter missing a full month after Javeayah was already gone. In other words, the call itself is now part of the crime, not just the moment that started the search for her. I want to slow down here, because this is where the case stops being simply sad and starts being genuinely hard to sit with. A confession, in a document like this, means investigators say a person told them what happened during questioning. It hasn't been tested in a courtroom yet. It hasn't gone in front of a jury. Lawyers, once they're involved, may question exactly how those statements were taken and what was said word for word versus summarized. All of that is still ahead. But right now, on paper, this is where the case stands. Investigators say both parents told them what happened. That's different from believing something happened. That's being told it happened, by the 2 people who were there. Here's a question worth sitting with. Why did Herring make that call on that specific night, a full month later, instead of any other day? A woman named April Sampson has a theory worth hearing. Sampson is a former deputy solicitor for South Carolina's Fifth Circuit. She has no connection to this case, but she's worked on cases built on similar facts before, and she shared her thinking with a local news station. Sampson pointed to something simple. Herring said during the 911 call that she was 39 weeks pregnant. That means she was about to give birth, any day. And when a woman goes into a hospital to deliver a baby, doctors and nurses almost always ask about her other children. According to Sampson, that question was coming no matter what. Silence wouldn't work once Herring was sitting in a hospital bed being asked where her daughter was. In her interview, Sampson said Herring may have hoped a missing child report would make people go away and leave her alone and believe her. I want to be really clear about something here. That's Sampson's professional opinion, based on the timeline. It is not a confirmed fact, and no official source has said this is the actual reason behind the call. But it's a real, on-the-record theory from someone with real experience in cases just like this one, and it's worth hearing out. Sampson also explained something useful about how cases move forward even without a body. She said investigators can build a timeline by talking to family members, figuring out the last time anyone actually saw Javeayah in person or on a video call, and then comparing all of that against the parents' confessions and their cell phone location history. She calls this kind of proof facts beyond change, meaning things like a phone showing up in a certain place at a certain time that either match what a parent said or don't. Here's the detail that makes this even harder to process. That same night, Herring made the 911 call. She went into labor. She gave birth just hours later, while search teams were already fanning out looking for a little girl who, according to warrants, was nowhere near Aiken County anymore. The newborn has since been placed with a family member. There's also something worth naming honestly here, not as an excuse, but as a pattern that shows up in cases like this one. When someone knows a child has been badly hurt, and getting help would mean explaining exactly how it happened, the decision to seek help and the decision to confess become the same decision. You can't walk into an emergency room with an injured child and avoid answering how it happened. On day 1, maybe you could say it was an accident. On day 30, the delay itself becomes something you have to explain, something that looks worse than whatever happened at first. That doesn't make any of this forgivable. But it helps explain how a gap of weeks can end with a phone call and a fabricated story instead of the truth on day 1, when it still might have mattered most. While all of this was happening, investigators were actually working 2 different locations at the same time. The first is Deceptive Creek, in Fairfield County, about 2 hours from where the family lived. It flows into a lake that locals call Stumpy Pond because of all the old tree stumps hiding just under the surface. It's a hard place to search, good for fishing, brutal for dive teams. The South Carolina Department of Natural Resources brought in boats, drones, and ATVs. State investigators, called SLED, were there too, along with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Multiple unmarked cars came and went. Nobody but law enforcement was allowed down the access road. Investigators haven't said publicly what led them to this exact spot, only that it became what they call an area of interest, sometime during the investigation. The second location is the family's own home on Hillsborough Street. About a week after the arrests, deputies went back, and this time, staff from the Aiken County Coroner's Office came with them. For about 4 hours, they searched the yard and the woods behind the house. News crews on scene described investigators using a sifting screen, the kind used to separate dirt from small objects, working through the ground piece by piece, marking spots with yellow evidence number blocks. At one point, they appeared to find a dark, rotted piece of cloth and what looked like a shoe. A source told local reporters this work at the house was separate from the search for Javeayah's body, more about collecting evidence tied to the case itself. The sheriff's office wouldn't confirm or deny that. A chief deputy only said the investigation is ongoing and they can't share every detail right now. So here's where things actually stand. One team is searching a lake 2 hours away, trying to bring Javeayah home. Another team is searching the family's own yard, trying to understand what happened before she was ever moved. 2 scenes, same case, neither one finished. Outside the home, a memorial keeps growing by the mailbox. Stuffed animals, balloons, candles, almost all of it pink, since pink was Javeayah's favorite color, and the same shade she was wearing in the photo used during the search. Dozens of people have shown up just to stand there, some driving in from other towns entirely. One neighbor, describing why she brought flowers, said simply that she wanted Javeayah to know she was loved, even by people who never got to meet her. I want to be honest with you about what we don't actually know yet, because a lot of true crime videos skip straight past this part, and I don't want to. We don't have a confirmed motive. Sheriff Sawyer never said publicly why investigators believe this happened. Sampson's hospital theory is a smart, experienced guess. But it is still a guess, not a confirmed fact. We don't know the full content of either confession. The warrants give us a short summary, not the complete statements. We don't know if Javeayah's body has been found yet. As of this recording, it has not. We don't know when the next court date is, or whether more charges could still be added. Here's what we do know. Both parents remain in jail without bond. A coroner's team and a search crew are both still actively working this case, in 2 different places, 2 hours apart. And a whole community that never met this little girl has spent the last 2 weeks showing up for her anyway, with candles, with pink balloons, with vigils. Because right now, that's the only thing anyone outside that house can actually do for her. If anything changes, if she's found, if new charges come, if a trial date gets set, I'll be back with an update. Let me know in the comments. Out of everything in this case, what part stuck with you the most?